With permission, Mr. Speaker.
UK Prime Minister Theresa May is taking one more shot. She's trying to get her Brexit deal approved by Parliament in just over 2 weeks. If she's defeated, the British leader says she'll give lawmakers the chance to vote yay or nay for a no-deal divorce.
If the government has not won a meaningful vote by Tuesday, the 12th of March, then it will, in addition to its obligations to table a neutral amendable motion under Section 13 of the EU Withdrawal Act, table a motion to be voted on by Wednesday, the 13th of March at the latest, asking this House if it supports leaving the EU without a withdrawal agreement and a framework for a future relationship on the 29th of March.
May says if lawmakers vote against a no-deal outcome, she'll ask Parliament the following day if it wants an extension to the Brexit deadline. She added that any delay would be short and should be a one-off, and it would be the government's last chance to prevent a no-deal exit.
An extension cannot take no deal off the table. The only way to do that is to revoke Article 50, which I shall not do, or agree a deal.
Lawmakers rejected May's current deal last January. That was over how to preserve an open border between the UK's Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which is part of the EU. May is in talks with Brussels to get changes to make the deal more acceptable. But the opposition Labour Party says May needs to persuade more than just EU officials and members of Parliament.
We cannot risk our country's industry and people's livelihoods. And so, if it somehow does pass in some form at a later stage, we believe there must be a confirmatory public vote to see if people feel that's what they voted for.
May says she won't call for another Brexit referendum. Meanwhile, analysts say an extension would increase uncertainty for businesses bracing for Brexit. But they say if it means dodging a disruptive no-deal departure, leaving the EU at a later date will be worth the wait. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Let's get more on this now with Vicky Pryce in London. She's a board member at the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Welcome back to the program, Vicky. Never a dull moment in this Brexit battle, but with Theresa May highly unlikely to secure any changes to her Brexit deal, does that mean a delayed Brexit is pretty much guaranteed?
Well, that's certainly what most people now think, that there will be a delayed Brexit, maybe no Brexit at all, because now, of course, we have Labour Party coming out in favour of a referendum, something that Jeremy Corbyn, the leader, had resisted for some time. And it's been clarified that he would ask for a referendum if the deal is not passed that Theresa May puts forward, not just a deal that he might like to negotiate, but Theresa May's own deal, and he would put to the public whether people should vote for her deal or staying actually in the EU. Now the question is whether he'll ever get the chance to do that, but it now looks slightly more likely that we may have a referendum or that we may stay in. I think the markets are still putting it quite low, but they are encouraged. We've seen sterling strengthen. But you're quite right. In the previous commentary that I've been hearing as a result of this news in your programme, businesses are going to find this uncertainty a problem because it just carries on. And the real worry is that the no-deal scenario is still there.
Let's talk more about Jeremy Corbyn's apparent Damascene conversion, because we know he was a lifelong opponent of Britain's membership of the European Union. So what's made him change his mind so significantly to the point where he's calling for another vote, which would more or less rule out a Brexit altogether?
What seems to be happening is that the party itself is disintegrating. We've seen 8 MPs leave Labour and set alongside a number of Conservatives a new independent group. And of course, another person has also left but hasn't actually joined the group. So the numbers are increasing, and there was a lot of pressure from the membership, really, and from members of Parliament in the Parliamentary Labour Party who also share the views of those who left. In other words, that there has to be a stronger stance against Theresa May on Brexit. That made it quite clear to him that if he wanted to remain as leader, he's going to have to do something about this, and he would have to perhaps disobey some of his own advisors, his close advisors, who themselves are quite in favour of Brexit, and in fact side with those in his party who are saying that unless he moves, then he'll be in trouble and the party will be in trouble. The overwhelming majority of Labour voters and Labour members would like to remain and to have a second referendum to allow them to do so.
In making this latest announcement in Parliament, Theresa May also made quite an interesting observation. She pointed out that a Brexit extension beyond the end of June would mean the UK taking part in the European Parliament elections, which would be quite surreal if that were to go ahead. But I'm wondering then, does this mean that a 3-month delay would be the most realistic option? And what could she achieve in that amount of time?
Well, it's the most realistic option if we don't want to have any European Parliament elections in the sense of the UK taking part in it. There will be elections, of course, for the rest of Europe and not necessarily involving the UK. And that was why the March 29th date was very convenient from that point of view. But there is a possibility of extending it because, of course, although there will be elections earlier, the new Parliament doesn't actually sit until early July, and then, of course, there'll be a new commission after that. But also the other worry is that if you extend it, you have to deal with different people. Possibly in the Commission, and of course different parliamentarians as well, and that will be a problem too. But frankly, the problem about putting people forward for standing in the European Parliament is quite negligible as an issue by comparison to the impact that a no-deal Brexit or practically any Brexit of the sort that is being debated now will have on the business community and on growth in the UK economy. I mean, the other problem and the reason for delay is that there have been some data published today and some quite sort of detailed papers that have come out which show that preparation for no deal are basically non-existent. There are many areas in government that haven't really worked up any serious plans on how to deal with us leaving without any proper agreement with the EU. And I think that's another reason why you do need an extension, and probably a much longer one than just 3 months.
Okay, Vicky Pryce, we will have to leave it there, but thank you for your time as always.